Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Dave Ross. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. It's 419-794-3030. The website is arhq.com. Nationwide is canceling around 100,000 pet insurance policies due to the higher cost of veterinary care. And now these pet owners find themselves and their four-legged friends without coverage. While you may not have pet insurance, you might find yourself in a similar situation in your 60s when a term life insurance policy expires after the term, 20 or 30 years. So it begs the question, how much life insurance do you really need in retirement? Guys, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there's several factors that should be considered when determining how much life insurance you should have in retirement. I think first and foremost, how much debt are you going to carry into retirement? If you have debt, if you have a mortgage, if you have loans, if you have any kind of debt that you're continuing to pay on, I think it makes a lot of sense to have that amount of money covered by life insurance. The second thing that I would say about having life insurance in retirement is if I have made provisions for my loved ones, my children, not so much my spouse, but my children, if I've earmarked some money and that money happens to be in the form of life insurance, that basically gives my wife and I the opportunity to spend, boy, the word I don't want to use is freely, but we can spend with a lot of knowledge that our children have been taken care of, that money has been set aside for them. And so therefore, that's a good reason to carry some life insurance coverage into retirement. You know, coming back to this policy expiring in 20 or 30 years, I've had some discussions with people about it. And you know what? It's not uncommon if it's a term policy to see premiums go up as much as 300, 400% at the end of the term. They will extend coverage if you're willing to pay the money. But maybe, I would say this. When I have insurance on people and if they're term policies, we have discussions throughout the term life that maybe a discussion about converting some of it to a permanent policy would make some sense, or rolling the policy over and extending the number of years of coverage. Because when you get into your 60s, and I'm there, it becomes very, very expensive to continue term policies into the 60s. So it's a very individual decision about life insurance, but people say, well, I'm retired, I've paid my bills, I don't need life insurance anymore. I think a very reasonable discussion can and should be had about whether or not life insurance makes sense in retirement. And I can say from my experience, I can make a pretty solid argument that it probably should be considered and that a lot of people should be considering the purchase of life insurance because they need it for other reasons.
Yeah, I would agree. When you're looking at how much life insurance do you need in retirement, it goes back to, retirement is a little bit different than the phase of where I had life insurance, when my kids are young. For me, I think when I look at it in a planning perspective, it's the number one goal for me to make sure that spousal income needs is covered because of the loss of things like Social Security. So if one of the spouses passes away, is there enough income coming into the household? Using life insurance to protect that surviving spouse's income needs can be good. Completely agree as far as covering debts, and hopefully, you get those debts eliminated by the time you get to retirement time. If not, maybe using some insurance to cover any outstanding mortgages that you have. Covering those, final expenses, your wishes, if you did want to leave money to kids and grandkids. Number 5 is understanding the tax differences between passing retirement accounts versus life insurance to beneficiaries. Number 6 is some policies include additional benefits today for critical, chronic, and terminal illness. So if somebody has, an issue when we think of long-term care or nursing home, some of these policies allow you to accelerate those benefits. Number 7 is the benefits of life insurance when you have a blended family. I meet with a lot of couple and they want to take care of their new spouse, but at the same time, they still have children from a different marriage. Life insurance can be an effective way where you can pass money on to your, kids and still take care of your new spouse and use life insurance to make sure that the family is taken care of based upon what your wishes are. Number 8 is, you might be self-insured and not need life insurance. And the number 9 way to figure that out is to have America's Retirement Headquarters help you run the capital needs analysis. And, again, back to that retirement team action plan, that's the asset protection part that we walk through in that planning process.
Again, that all begins with that phone call, 419-794-3030, or setting up a time on the website, arhq.com. In a previous segment, we spoke about, the importance of having both spouses in on the planning process, in on the conversation. When this topic comes up, life insurance and spousing, how does that typically go? Is it an uneasy conversation? Obviously, dealing with one's own mortality or the loss of their spouse, probably not the easiest conversation, but how does that conversation usually go? Is it something they bring to the table or something you guys bring up?
I mean, it's definitely something that we talk about, I think, as part of the goal planning process. And, you'll hear a lot of times the husband will want to bring in the wife, want to understand the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I hear him communicate to me, he understands, a lot of times he has the pension and the Social Security, the larger of the two. And he says, if something happens to me, I just want to know that, my wife's taken care of. And so that makes a ton of sense. At the same time, us men, we tend to pass away first. So, using life insurance to create a legacy, which tends to be, somewhat of a bigger priority for women. And, if women outlive us, having the policies that have the long-term critical chronic illness benefit is also something important. It's just the word insurance is not always a comfortable word to talk about, nor does the cost of insurance, but it's a matter of understanding how does it apply to your situation. And it is a good way to leverage your dollars to accomplish goals that you want. In the perfect world, we just sail off in the sunset one day and, everything works perfect, but insurance helps you ensure the outcome.
And like with any other part of a financial plan, it's going to vary from person to person, whether it is something that is going to be of use, but it depends on your circumstances. Having that conversation and figuring out having that personalized plan begins with that phone call to America's Retirement Headquarters, 419-794-3030, or the website, and that is arhq.com.